So the results published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Did you see this?
No.
They did a study. 2 sessions of psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy were as effective in treating depression over the course of 6 weeks as daily SSRIs. So this is the first ever head-to-head of psilocybin versus an antidepressant.
SSRIs.
It's called Lexapro.
Yeah.
Normally you do psilocybin against nothing. And they go, psilocybin is better than nothing. Psilocybin can help depression. But this was the first study they've done where they go, in every way that we measured it, it's either better than standard antidepressant Lexapro or a tie.
How was it better?
Well, I mean, they have so many. The way they test this is, they have a therapist who's there, and then they have self-reported stuff.
Self-reported, therapist reported. Got it.
So they did a number of things, and it's kind of hard. Mental health is hard to track. It's not like body fat where you can just, like scan someone and you're like, this person's this much depressed. But yeah, it's the first head-to-head one, and they went, wow, this is. I mean, if you were hoping that psilocybin was going to become a popular alternative for treating depression, this was as good as it could have gone.
Yeah.
So because the thing is, and I just want to explain this, I guess if people don't know, most of the time you go on antidepressants for SSRIs, you are on them. And when you go off them, you are back to a similar mental health issue. Maybe you're less depressed than you were when you went on them, but like they don't cure you. They are a daily Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And a psilocybin-assisted psychotherapy, it was 2 sessions, at which point the person felt as good as the people on the antidepressants.
After the psilocybin had left their system.
Right. So which is to say that it is making their brain change in a way that's helping them and should, in theory, help them for over a long period of time. And maybe they'll have to go back every couple months to go through it, but that's incredible compared to daily therapy or a daily pill. So yeah, there was a study, and it's very impressive results for psilocybin.
Yeah. No, I think the one thing that I would say that, as having done this now several times, is I think it's going to be oversold as a silver bullet. I'm glad they did it twice. I don't think it's going to last forever for these people. It sometimes can, but I think that one thing that's going to have to be careful is, as there's a lot of excitement about this stuff, people, this is what happened when I first did it, will tell you, like, this is going to change your life. And like, there's going to be a before and an after. And sometimes that can be the case, but I actually think that it is not most commonly the case. But
but SSRIs don't come with, they're not downside free.
Oh, for sure.
So
I'm not a big
So if you
SSRI
can go,
fan.
if you can do psilocybin therapy once, and then 2 weeks later, and then 4 weeks later, and then every 3 months for the rest of your life, but not have the risk that comes with a serotonin receptor inhibitor, that is, I think, a better alternative. That's a more appealing alternative to a lot of people. Yes.
Yeah. No, me too. I mean, my mom was in that camp. She was on SSRIs for a long time, got off, struggled, like went to a personal development program, was like, I need to get off these, got off these, had a hard time, and has been doing psychedelics since then. And it's not gotten perfect, but what I've told her, and I believe, is that SSRIs are sometimes necessary, and if consult your doctor. But in her case, I felt that they were a mask. It's like, you haven't addressed any of the underlying issues. Like, you're just taking a mellower every day.
Well, sometimes the other thing is they can flatten your happiness.
Sure.
So they can have certain effects maybe where they bring your emotions in from both sides. So you just have a tighter range of emotions.
At no point did she think about her past or her family or this or why she's this way. It just, and then you do psychedelics and it's like, oh my God, these flashbacks from my childhood and all of these other things. And I could be wrong, and I don't think the story is always necessary, but in reviewing some of that and getting closure on some of that, it does seem to have a longer lasting effect than simply regulating the whatever's being dumped in your brain on a day-to-day basis. So I'm thumbs up for psychedelics. I think everybody knows that who watches this. Any other stuff you got?
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. So some race things happened this week. I don't know how much we want to touch on them, but Chauvin is going to jail.
Yeah.
That verdict came out. I have nothing novel to say on it, but
I didn't follow the trial, so
that happened. Then there was a white cop that shot a black girl who people were very excited to cancel until it came out that the girl he shot was trying to kill another black girl, and he actually saved a girl's life. And then LeBron deleted his tweet, and everybody was, oh no, LeBron
tweeted "You're next."
The pitchforks came out, and then the pitchforks got put away. And I don't know if you have anything to say, but those were the two biggest news stories of the week.
No, I'm kind of. I mean, you and I have talked a lot offline. I am. There is a clear narrative that is popular on Twitter and with many papers, and it's they are searching to seize upon white perpetrators and marginalized victims. And when the narrative doesn't fit that, it's not widely publicized, or it is treated as a gun issue. So just for instance, there was a shooting in Austin. That was a police officer. Now, I don't care personally. It was a black police officer, but that is not important to that story. There was an NFL player who killed a family. He was black. I don't care that he was black. The story is that he has CTE, but there was the guy in Colorado who shot up a Kroger. 10 victims were white. Their race was not listed. And so one of the things that I turn it off. I'm getting tired of seeing is like, it seems like a worldview in search of evidence. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be evidence. It's a big country, man. People of all different colors kill each other all the time. And some of them are egregious. But the idea, I think, unfortunately, if you're just sitting back and you're treating the news and Twitter as your eyes, is they have very selective vision. Mm-hmm. And what they're going to report to you is that it happens in a particular way, which is not necessarily representative of a broader statistical view of things. And this is the primary problem. And this is why we talk about not listening to the news. So that's my perspective on it. It seems like a conclusion in search of evidence. And when the evidence, like if the evidence doesn't match, it's we have mental health crisis, or this is CTE, like it just gets sorted or gun problem. It gets sorted into some other camp. And I agree, by the way, I think those are the right takes. When an NFL player goes into someone's house and look at his brain, see if there's damage from all of that stuff. Yeah. Like his skin color is definitely like 99.9999999% not the thing that's causing it. I only leave that 0.000001 because anything is technically possible.
You're saying, the football player you think did it because of the brain trauma,
or because of his upbringing, or because of anything. But he did. It doesn't need to be like the color of his skin and the color of the victim's skin is unimportant to that story. And I think it is similarly unimportant in many of the stories where it is important, where it is given the utmost importance. And you will conclude that
you're saying this last cop was white, shot a black teenager who was trying to stab a black teenager. You could just leave off the races. You could just say a police officer shot a girl who was trying to stab another girl. Yeah.
And even, Warren Farrell talks about this, like, does it matter that they're girls? Does it matter that they're... And I think some of these things do matter, but it's also, we mentioned this last week, when we're hearing single stories, of a single individual who died, you have to ask yourself why. Like, what is sensational about this? Is it the age of the person? Is it this? And is this something that is going to help me reduce suffering in the world to a meaningful extent if acted upon and legislated against? Or am I missing the bigger things that could save a ton of people? Mm-hmm. And when you hear those single stories, we're missing the things that the world and America needs in order to like really reduce suffering and help the most people, regardless of their skin color. Because to me, that's not how you should approach the problem of reducing suffering in the world.
Yeah. The one interesting thing that you pointed out, which I don't have data on, haven't run an actual study on, is just to pay attention to when race is talked about and when it isn't, if that makes sense. So like, when is the race of a victim talked about and when is the race of a criminal talked about? And you'll see that it tends to pop up more in certain cohorts than others, if that makes sense. So if the person who's doing the shooting is white, you're more likely to hear their race. If the victims are white, you're less likely to hear their race. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just something we've seen anecdotally.
If you're a grad student, you want to run that study, go for it.
Yeah. But I thought that was interesting. I'm not saying it's true, but it's interesting to think about. And I have started to notice it when I just look at how the news is reported.
But it goes beyond that because like, we're not hearing about every gun death in America, certainly. So it's like you can't even see what you're not seeing. And this is why, unfortunately, and we have this podcast where we talk about the news because I've been unable to completely disconnect. Finds its way into my my bloodstream somehow. But the things that you're not seeing are so important to context of what you are seeing.
Yeah, not every police shooting is covered. So you don't even know.
Not every egregious police shooting is covered. And the most interesting question is, how is what is bubbling up to the top being selected?
Mm-hmm.
And that, what is the, if there were your eyes, what is the optical illusions that my eye is trained to show to me? And that's why I try not to act too much on the news. But what I do think is valuable are like broader trends. And that's why I like Ray Dalio, because he seems to be
because he looks at the last 800 years.
Yeah, he looks at the last 800 years and talks about, and he's like, yeah, we're going to print money because everyone always prints money, and then that always doesn't work. And it's like, it's good for a short time. Bubbles are great. That's what I saw him saying the last thing. He's like, oh, bubbles are awesome. He's like, bubbles are so fun. Everybody loves bubbles. And I was like, yeah, everybody does love bubbles.
Yeah, it's just when they pop that it becomes a problem.
Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.